Thank you so much. Such a privilege to be here. So yes, what's going to happen next is going to be a talk that is representing more than one organization, but at the same time, it's very personal for myself. So feels kind of a privilege to be able to do that as myself. There's a lot of stuff coming, so I cannot bibble babble a lot, but just as a side note, I'm still recovering from a fever. Yesterday I had to skip the entire event, and when I walked here, I was blasting with sweat, and my heart rate is going like wee. So please forgive me. I'm sitting down and trying to keep the energies a little bit lower. That's not usually my style, but let's see how it goes. All right. But yes, the title basically says a lot. So let's just go quickly through who's behind this entire presentation. If I can just get the clicker working. Yes, so this is me. I am the COO and co-founder at Psyon Games, where we make health games with top pharma and NGOs and governments, and it's so cool and changing the world. In addition to that, I am the chairperson of Game Business Cooperative EXPA, which also means I'm the IGDA lead for Jyväskylä. And we boost the game industry in central Finland, and we are also the Finland's first and the world's northest Unreal authorized training center. So get excited for that. So myself, I've titled myself like as a cheerleader of science and sustainability, and basically the games that we make is one outlet in my larger umbrella of trying to make an impact in this world through various collaborations with universities, game companies, and whatnot. So it's kind of a broad agenda, I would say. And quickly about Psyon Games. So as I mentioned, we're one of the world's leading health game studios, award-winning across many different industries. So this applied gaming, it raises interest not only in the games and the health industry, but also in marketing and innovations. And we are partnered with pharma, NGOs, and governments, and we do research collaboration with many universities because you have to validate what you claim, and there's some new frontiers to push in this, so that's why. And again, clicker please. Yes. Quickly about Sustainable Games Alliance, which you will hear a lot more when Maria is talking. But SGA is a non-profit cooperative owned and governed by game studios, publishers, and trade associations. It's on a mission to decarbonize the industry, and they're doing a lot and like empowering these studios, implementing this self-regulation framework. And just on Monday, the standard for reporting those emissions was released. So big hand for that. I'm struggling with this clicker. I'm pressing it like 3 times, and then it might skip ahead, but yeah, it's really the Wi-Fi. But yeah, why are we here then? Like, let's go forward. Why is this actually important? And I swear to God, like in 2025, I will still see corporate responsibility posts in LinkedIn that start like, business is not separate from society. It shapes it. And all I can say is like, well, duh. I think we're falling behind like on the schedule to catch up with all the things that are going on in this world and how we should be actually using the power of business. So this is a very elementary notion. It's important, but it's ultra basic because business has vested interests regarding everything. Now I'm going too fast because the clicker. So yeah, there's like environment, working conditions, data, and representation, among others. And like if we don't recognize the impact of business and how the world of business is governed on all these things, it's very like difficult to actually spark meaningful discussion. So let's just state that as the like obvious in the beginning. And then a little bit about me. It's not going to be all about me, even though it's kind of an anecdotal thing. Yeah, I promise there's also other stuff. But Yes. So I consider myself first and foremost a change maker. It's kind of an identity that I developed already before I entered the working life, and it's still how I think of myself as today, like COO, entrepreneur, uh, chief of the board. These are all fancy titles, and while they may kind of say what I do on a daily basis, they don't really communicate the why. And like most activists, my journey started from a place of pain. First, the pain of realizing how utterly unsustainable the path of our species on this planet is. And just a few years later, kind of growing up to realize that the man that I have grown up to be isn't really me, but rather a narrow adaptation of a much more complex being that I had learned to hide. And these struggles, growing up with them, like already before I came to work life, gave me like this perspective of what are actually the causes that I want to put forward in this world. And it was more like business is just the medium of the activities that I want to push. And like contemplating these issues, but not knowing how to take action on them got me really frustrated. But I didn't know anything else to do, so I became very loud. So during my student years, I used to be probably very annoying, like all the time talking about these things and huge pathos all the time, like voicing it out. But originally, that was the thing that got me together with the Psyon Games founder, Olli Rundgren. And we had some very heated discussions back then, but at least we connected on a very personal level early on. And long story short, despite the many differences in our worldviews, we learned to align about this shared mission of impactful science communication via games. And we still have our differences, but it's a continuous dance of alignment, and that's also one of the big topics of today, kind of underlying theme all the time there. And since then, I've learned a lot about how to pursue various causes in the course of context of business. But before I move on, I just want to say like I often get credited for simply existing. Like people come to me and say that it's so awesome that you do what you do, and they don't even know what I do. But it's very empowering, and I like that. Please don't stop. but but I feel great gratitude about it because for me, being is doing. Like I almost feel like this whole thing that I do, it cuts through my entire life, like all the areas of it. It's an ongoing performance, and it's been a huge path and a huge load of work to get here where I am, kind of comfortable in my own body in front of all the people and so on. So it's actually hard work. But I don't like when people say that thank you for existing, I kind of take it as like thank you for the hard work that you have put in. So for that, I'm very, very grateful. But yeah, this presentation is about the insights I've built along the way, and hopefully it will help also you lead a more meaningful life in the context of business and work, staying true to your values and making social impact where you so desire. Long intro, but necessary one. And then if we can click ourselves forward, standing up for a cause in the context of business, why is it difficult? Let's see. Who here has causes you care about? And who here advocates for those causes somehow? Cool. And how many of you advocate for those causes in the context of business or work? And how many of you find it time to time difficult or are struggling with it? Yes. That's why we're here. And why does it feel difficult? My go-to answer is, oh my God, again. Now, my go-to answer is that we fear risking good relations. And it makes all the sense, obviously. Success in business is largely a combination of know-how and good relations. So this is kind of equally true to an intern and a CEO. And being agreeable with anyone who can advance your career or your company goals makes perfect sense business-wise. But this definition of success is only true if we believe that we're already going to the right direction and all we need to do is increase the speed. And I, for one, I believe that we have a lot to do to set our course straight when it comes to topics like human rights or the environment. So we cannot just press the gas all the time. We need to be navigating more. And this easily comes with this like impulsive feeling of like, I must voice out what is wrong and I must correct the direction immediately. But the first lesson I've learned in the many years of business is that changing the world through business is always about selling a vision to someone more powerful than you. So you cannot just rush around and trying to push things to change. This means that with most partners, you have to be ready to compromise, control these emotions and your immediate desire to do good with every single action that you take. You need to be more systematic, more kind of like comprehensively pushing for a bigger vision despite all the uncertainty. And of course, there's like an upside about making your values very visible. It gives you a profile. The people who are like to you, they will navigate towards you, and while it may close some doors, those might be some doors that you don't even want to walk through. And this is an empowering thought, and it helps in the beginning. But I still recommend that you wouldn't go only to the direction of where you are like naturally gravitated, because that increases the bubble effect. And to be honest, the frontier of change is not where everybody already thinks like you. It's where the conflict exists. So you kind of need to be putting yourself there. But there are also other reasons probably why it feels difficult to push for these causes in the context of business. And if we rewind back to that question, the second thought I have is that it can feel like you are being eaten alive by other activists. So the stakeholders of your business are not the only compass you follow. As someone who actively pursues this change, it's also important for me that people who share these causes actually know what I'm doing and understand the way I'm trying to pursue it. So it kind of feels I'm in the crossfire of these worlds of like these business people and then these very Puritanian activists who don't really have any dialogue between them. And in the worst days, it feels like I cannot communicate with either party, so it doesn't feel like I'm successfully building a bridge. But in the long run, it's something that I'm trying to do. But the sad story is, what I'm saying on this slide is that if you actively pursue a cause, at some point, the people who uphold the same cause are most likely gonna come after you. And it's just like in this online debate, the standards for pursuing any cause are usually set by those who have the least agency in the existing society. They kind of refuse to participate in anything because it cannot be done in a pure enough way. And then kind of criticize the entire system and also everyone who tries to take any action with the terms of that system. And yeah, I think it's very natural that we criticize people whose environment, whose stakeholders, agency, and the risks that they take, we don't really understand. But it's a very good practice to kind of remind yourself that I may not know it all before I pose my critique out there. A lot of energy is wasted in these endless debates about these methods, while we could just be actually supporting each other if we share the cause like 95% or even just like 80 or 70%. And yeah, it's just something that I try to remind myself of. And personally, I believe that this passion of what I labeled as purists is crucial for this change to happen. And like I'm not definitely like putting it down at all. But the problem is that if we don't value continuity in societal change, then we risk like radical disruptions, chaos, and even violence. And that brings me to my second lesson, which is continuity. So I need to change mic to the other hand so I can click closer to the thingy. The process of social change over time must be continuous. Otherwise, we risk violence. And what I mean by this is that the principle of continuity is that accepting the world or the current state of the world as our starting point at any time. Also, I used to be like 10 years ago in a position where I would always say that if we just dismantled this and that system from society and rebuilt a new, change would happen so much faster. And what I didn't really realize is that like any process over time, if it's not continuous, if there's like some sort of a gap that we dismantle the system and then wait for a bit for a new one to emerge, there's probably violence in the gap. So the difficulty is really that how to build something that sets new direction while maintaining the stability by supporting the old. There needs to be like this smooth transition. And this is a leading principle that I always kind of ask myself, that if someone poses some kind of strategy, that does it really respect this principle of continuity? And related to continuity, what has been happening lately is that world is becoming more and more polarized, and that is a threat to continuity. We see this like stuff happening in the US and everywhere else. And without going too deep into that, just remaining in the realm of like what I can do from my perspective, these are some of the observations that I've made. So we have an increasing amount of like standpoints in discussion that are purely from a moral perspective and not from a practical one. Discussion atmosphere is leading us astray. What is deemed as individual success is often harmful for the collective. So what I mean by this is that, for example, on social media platforms, the type of speech that is actually very provocative and very unconditional and not very constructive tends to get more clicks, more visibility, all of that. And of course, these algorithms, trolls, bots, they affect everything, starting from media to decision makers to let alone these like us as citizens. And we're easily left under the impression that standing up for a cause is basically being very loud, unconditional, and even aggressive. And there is more and more of this rhetoric where we set standards that exclude significant portion of all existing societal activity, like really just proposing something new. Again, kind of completely disrespecting the idea of a continuous process. And I am a physics teacher by education, so there's going to be a lot of physics analogies in this thing. Just brace yourself. But you are allowed to laugh. Think of the spectrum of societal views as a solid rod. So if we have like one view on the other blue end and one view on the other blue end, if we grab the rod and pull it with both hands, we are very strong, by the way, so we can pull it apart. You can see that not only the distance between these views is increased, but also the connection between them weakens. And a weaker connection means poorer transmission of signals and lesser influence. And this is kind of a principle that I really want to lay on everybody, like, because this trend in activism where you just like pose standards around you and like, I'm like this and I'm gonna operate like this, and if you don't like what I'm doing, you can unfriend me and nah. This kind of approach is like, I don't like it. Be honest, like, and I'm willing to debate, but like, here's what I see is happening. Basically, you are cutting off the existing links of influence around you instead of like using them to like put out the change or seeds of like making some difference. So I really believe that this is one of the things that each of us could be doing or reflecting more before we put our arguments there. And I'm by no means, I'm not perfect, so I've done a lot of this myself as well. But that comes with experience. So kind of seeing the effect. Does it actually help my cause? That's why I'm preaching here. But yes, I think this is enough problem definition, and then we can dive into the solution part, perhaps, or some of the inspiring stuff. So toe to toe or side by side. And what I really recommend as a strategy, especially when you're pursuing this stuff in the context of business, is to align yourself with the reality of your operational environment. And your environment in this case means your boss, your team, your company policies, your value and values, and so on. And I really recommend you align yourself in a way that you focus on the goals of that your environment supports, this near environment. And another physics analogy. So if the green line over there, the static one, is your environment, and the blue one is you. When you align yourself with that, you can see that your combined impact in terms of superposition of waves is the sum of these waves. But if you're in misalignment, you more or less cancel each other out. So if you have this like near environment, whether like in the context of business, it's usually your team or your company or so on. So select your battles in a way that there is this synergy and use it for your benefit. Because like if you're only fighting for a cause in this near environment, that usually stays only in that like very small inner circle. So if you're looking for more impact, I really recommend making use of this amplifier effect. Because there's 1,000 problems and injustices out there. So the question is, where should you focus? Because you cannot solve them all. That's just reality. And again, a similar type of animation. When you align yourself with the environment, it really works for your benefit. But how do you do that? A couple of guiding principles. We hear a lot of these in the talks, like probably 5 talks in the leadership day and Pocket Gamer where someone said, choose your battles. But I'm repeating because it matters, especially in this context. And the other one would be probably that don't bite the hand that feeds you, because that's the fuel that you enjoy for your engine of change. So you can basically reframe this as discover your area of impact and make use of your growth platform or amplifier. By respecting these, you get the maximum impact per energy spent or action taken. So you can imagine yourself in the middle of the circle, then there's your near environment. If you focus your change activities to that like inner circle, nothing really will ever leak out to the society. But if you align yourself in a constructive way, a lot can happen. I'm seeing that I'm running out of time, so I need to speed up a little bit. And here I quoted Barack Obama, become someone who can get things done. So this is really something that's stuck with me, like ever since I was a student and I got really frustrated about not knowing how to pursue these things. As soon as I went to work in a startup, I learned how to get things done. Often it wasn't very nice and I kind of was conflicted with myself, and a lot of the stuff was not satisfying in the moment. But 10 years into it, I can see that I've built a lot of valuable things. So think more in the long term. And this thing like the communities that we have in the games industry is a great place to demonstrate your skills and passion through activism, volunteering, and solo projects. So I really recommend you turn this into your benefit. Like it's appreciated. If you are able to get things done in the context of activism, also business leaders will see that, okay, this person knows project management, they can create materials, they can convince other people. And even if the context is different, it can really work for your benefit. So my style, ethos on the front, balancing pathos and logos in the back. I could have wrote that ethos in the streets and balancing pathos and logos in the sheets. What I mean by this is that when you see my stuff on LinkedIn and so on, I usually am not very provocative or anything like that, but like my presence tends to kind of communicate something that I don't write. But in the reality, my life is not as flamboyant and glamorous. It's a lot of hard work in the back, and just to kind of put the reality out there, it's if you want to get things done, you need to put in the hard work. So I recommend you adapt to the environment, but if you are valuable to your people around you, you can still keep your integrity. So you don't have to adapt too much. You can do it in your own way. And lastly, let's look at this through some examples. So it's not just my example, but like here we have a mid-level employee executive of a small company and a creative freelancer. So basically, if you learn to think about your impact in terms of agency, your environment, and the challenges and the upsides that they bring, it's much easier to kind of see that where is the things that you can align with in the environment. And for example, for mid-level employees, the agency is usually small, it's tied to the company and so on. For executives of small companies, there's an ability to set a direction for a small team. And for creative freelancers, it's mostly tied to the deals that they make. But realizing this gives you power. The environment for mid-level employees is always competitive. Also, executives, they have to answer to various stakeholders. And while freelancers have freedom, there's also a lot of uncertainty. So these bring the challenges of like in the competitive environment, there's the pressure to conform with the executives. There's always balancing the vision with survival. And for freelancers, it's all about convincing the client with your ideas. But the upsides that they're tied to is that in this very conformative environment, a mid-level employee can actually show their passion as a competitive edge. Executives of small companies, they can take quick initiative, and also creative freelancers can provide like really out-of-the-box ideas that never come from inside the team. So putting yourself into any of the issues, like whatever hits you the most, I'm just trying to kind of give you the idea of how you can think about your agency in the context of business. And what this all has to do with the SGA then, finally. What I'm trying to say is that standing up for environmental causes does not pose a conflict to the people and companies in the game industry. So it would be probably more difficult to kind of place this argument in the fossil fuel industry talk or something like that. But in the game industry, there's an alignment, like we can really push this. And the SGA proposes a feasible path to decarbonization of the industry and sets realistic expectations for different sizes of companies and embraces the continuity. So basically, it's humbly accepting the fact that we don't even know how to report these things, and they put the hard work in to get the standard right and to empower the people of the industry to do it as a collective. And the self-regulation framework is really kind of a combination of this individual effort and collective resources. And whatever your role in the organization that you're in, you can be the one who sets things in motion. And even if you're not in an organization, you can be the first to be basically get the expertise by joining the SGA as an active, and that can work as a competitive edge to be leading the change in another company one day. So, as a summary, I believe it's time to redefine active citizenship to cover societal topics and responsibility in the context of business. It can feel difficult because you are forced to balance your business vision, stakeholder expectation, and your own integrity. And in the context of business, driving a cause is about selling a vision to those more powerful than you alone. Accepting these makes it all easier. But with the leading principles, continuity, accepting the world as it is at any time, thinking big, aligning with your environment and use it to amplify your own actions, and then the realism, set feasible goals and adapt to your environment, but not too much. With these things, I believe I've gotten where I am, and I hope that applying them in a meaningful way to your context can help you too. So, what to make of this? Join the SGA, one way or the other. Thank you.